Hey guys, welcome back to our FCS Dynasty and NCAA Football 2006. Right now we're going to be taking a look at the nation, doing a Week 13 recap. I am not going to do predictions for Week 14. I always do predictions during the beginning of every single game, so I don't really think it's necessary anymore. But I would still love to see your guys' predictions in the comments section of every video. Let's go ahead and take a look at the bowl rankings to start things off. Nation's best, Savannah State is the new top dog in the bowl rankings. So they take over Fresno State's spot, actually, and that's very surprising. Savannah State is also number 1 in the country. So Fresno State beats San Diego today, and Savannah State beats South Carolina State, who was ranked. So the Tigers leap over the formerly number 1 ranked Fresno State Bulldogs. Dayton is 12th, South Dakota State 13th. And of course, Bryant was up there in the top 5 as well. Let's take a look at the top 25. Answering the call, San Diego State lifts its Mountain West record to 4-4 with a close win over Wyoming. And here we see it. Savannah State jumps Fresno State. Bryant is top 5. They are 5th in the country. We've got Central Michigan, Rice, Bryant. That is the top 5. And after that is UTEP, who just beat the Citadel 54-3. UTEP improves to 9-1 on the season. And they're going to be taking on VMI in their next ball game. Fresno State and Savannah State and Bryant, those are the only undefeated teams left in the entire nation. So it's going to be a crazy ending as Bryant will take on the Tigers in the ACC title game. Mexico State is number 7. William and Mary, they just beat Morgan State. They jump up to 8th in the country. So the ACC definitely putting out a lot of talent right now, a lot of great teams. Akron is 9th, Navy rounds out the top 10, Dayton is 11th, and South Dakota State is 13th after they just whooped North Dakota State. They have a bye week this week. Montana, James Madison round out the top 15, then we've got Tulane. Wyoming drops 12 spots after losing by 4 points to San Diego State. They dropped to 9-3 on the year. UNLV, after starting out 0-5, has won 6 straight and has become bowl eligible. They jump to 18th in the country. Tennessee State is ranked 19th, and Eastern Michigan finishes out the top 20. San Diego State, Ohio, New Mexico, South Carolina State only drops 1 spot after losing to the Tigers, and Boise State ranked 25th in the country. They just beat number 19 Idaho 45-16. Of course, Boise State was the early favorite to win the national title game. Cal Poly is ranked 26th, and North Dakota State and San Diego are also closing in on the rankings, but they both just lost, so I'm not sure how they're still up there. That's it for the top 25. Let's take a look at the Heisman watch list. We already know who's number 1 and 2. Where does he stand? If the Cowboys keep on winning, Atkins supporters will continue to grow. I don't know how much, with MJ Gator Jr. at number 1 right now with 36 touchdowns, and Brandon Allen is currently 2nd on the Heisman watch list. He's got 36 touchdowns as well, almost 2,000 rushing yards. MJ Gator Jr. is closing in on 2,000 rushing yards as well, but MJ has more receiving yards and catches on the season. So that is the edge that he's got over Allen currently. Last of the Heisman watch, Cole, Atkins, and Holly, 2 Wyoming players, and a New Mexico State quarterback who just threw 380 yards and 5 touchdowns against San Jose State. He now has 4,000 passing yards this season with 43 touchdowns. Just insane numbers, but I don't know if it's going to be enough to leap over Brandon Allen or MJ Gator Jr. Jason Holly, 18 touchdown catches this season. He's been phenomenal as well. 91 catches, 1,329 yards. Let's take a look at the awards finalists. Well, the cover of it. Give it to him. Jackson's leadership is honored as he's named a finalist for the best quarterback. So props to Lamar for even getting on there as a freshman. Bowl projections, Holiday Madness. Great defensive play. Has Central Michigan, blah, blah, blah. I didn't leave it up long enough, but it doesn't matter. You can pause it and go back if you want. Some of these teams are not going to be making it. I already know who's going to make the bowl games. So all of these teams that have losing records, they don't make the bowl games. The game actually fixes itself and makes it so only teams with 6 wins make it in. So don't worry about that, guys. Southern Utah is projected to take on UNLV, who is on a 6-game winning streak in the Las Vegas Bowl. And that will be a rough game for the Thunderbirds, I think. Shockingly, Hawaii is projected for the Hawaii Bowl. I am just shocked to my very core. Alcorn State versus Furman. Alcorn State does need one more win, but I don't think they have any more games this season. Northern Colorado projected for the Insight Bowl currently. I'm not going to really pay too much attention to their opponent that is projected right now, because that's not going to happen. Harvard only has 4 wins on the year, and they only have 1 game left. Sam Houston State for the Houston Bowl. They have to travel far for that one. Well, they are currently 6th in the Big 12. Alabama State, they are not going to make a bowl game either. They've only got 1 more game, so it doesn't matter if they win that or not. So just plenty of teams with losing records in here. And look at that, Portland State, one of the most shocking teams of the Pac-10, with a pretty good record and a couple of shocking defeats against our schools. Holiday Bowl projections, San Diego versus North Dakota State on the subscriber versus subscriber game. That'll be a fun one if that happens. Music City Bowl, 2 losing teams, that's not going to happen. UC Davis projected for the Sun Bowl at 7-5, 3rd in the Pac-10 currently. Rice versus New Mexico, that would be a fun game. I would have to go with Rice on that. Their quarterback is absolutely phenomenal. Just an excellent athlete, and he sure can run the football. Outback Bowl, Grand Lake State Tigers versus the Indiana State Sycamores, home of Larry Bird. Cotton Bowl projection, Southern versus VMI. Now Southern, I think, still has 1 more game left on the year, so they could win it and become bowl eligible. Dartmouth versus William & Mary. I think William & Mary would absolutely destroy the Big Green. Jacksonville versus Montana in the Capital One Bowl. That's currently the projection. Of course, Jacksonville will be taking on Tennessee State in the SEC Championship game, so they could be taking on Cal Poly, who is already in the Sugar Bowl. They will play in that game. Fiesta Bowl, Princeton versus South Dakota State. That game is pretty much decided. Both conference winners. And Dayton versus Bryant. Big Ten leader versus the ACC leader. So if Bryant beats Savannah State, Bryant will most likely go on to face Fresno State in the title game. And if Savannah State beats Bryant, obviously they will play Fresno State. So the loser of the ACC title game goes on to face the Dayton Flyers in a subscriber versus subscriber matchup. Either way, I think it'll be a good game. But I do like Savannah State's chances right now. Their offense is just too nasty. The defense is solid as well. They do have a couple of weaknesses that they need to figure out, though, before they go on and take on Bryant. Williams and the Grizzlies are victorious against somebody. Again, I did not see it. NCAA Players of the Week, Michael Hines. Look at these stats. 404 yards on 21 completions, 117 rushing yards on 8 carries, 7 touchdowns. Crazy. Over 500 yards. Bully Cooper, player of the week on defense against NAU. He balled out. ACC players of the game, or players of the week. I'm going to keep saying game because that's just what I do. Brandon Allen, in their 70-17 victory, ran for almost 300 yards, had 27 yards receiving and 5 total touchdowns, so over 300 yards of offense for Allen. Barrett Oliver, player of the week for defense. Big Ten, Leon Brown, sophomore quarterback, 254 yards, 4 touchdowns. And on defense, Montana outside linebacker Desmond Williams had 6 tackles, 4 for loss, 2 sacks, a forced fumble, and a fumble recovery in their victory over Western Illinois, 31-3. On to the Big 12, Zoomer Speed, 15 touches, over 300 yards of offense, and 4 touchdowns in the victory over Sam Houston State. Travis Hayden, junior outside linebacker for Southeastern, had 16 tackles, 6 for a loss, 3 sacks, and a forced fumble in their victory over Western Carolina, 29-24. So a big win for Southeastern as they finish off the season with a losing record of 4-7. Frank Scott, junior wide receiver for Princeton, 7 catches, 170 yards, 2 touchdowns. And on defense for Brown, the halfback, Jesse Harris, had 8 tackles, 3 for a loss, 2 sacks, a forced fumble, and a touchdown. So it's really nice seeing an offensive player get Defensive Player of the Week. We haven't seen that other than Mason Smith. Lamont Dockery, junior halfback for Jacksonville State. He has been an absolute beast this season. He just barely had 90 yards of offense, though, with 3 touchdowns, and they went over Delaware. Antoine Johnson, 10 tackles, 2 picks for the Richmond Spiders. They finished the season 3-8. On to the Independents. Jonathan Harris for Army, their quarterback, 358 yards, 5 touchdowns, 22 of 29. Great day passing the football for him in their win over App State. Jason Huggins, 3 tackles, a pick, and a forced fumble. On to the MAC. John McLaurin, quarterback for the Eastern Michigan Eagles, 433 yards passing, 7 total touchdowns. Marcus Medley for Hofstra, 9 tackles, an interception, and a forced fumble. On to the Mountain West. Lance Pearson, quarterback, sophomore for Air Force, had over 100 yards passing, 150 rushing yards, 7 total touchdowns, and they went over New Mexico. Pete Montz, 9 tackles, 1 for a loss, 2 picks, and a fumble recovery in that victory as well. On to the Pac-10, Malik Higgins, 255 all-purpose yards, 4 touchdowns in the 62-21 victory over Columbia. And of course, Bully Cooper, 7 tackles, 1 for a loss, 1 sack, 2 picks, and a touchdown. Michael Hines, of course, player of the week for the SEC on offense. And on defense for Prairie View A&M, Alan Carlson, the cornerback, 6 tackles, forced fumble, and 2 touchdowns in that loss to Jacksonville. Kyle Parker, redshirt freshman quarterback out of Georgia Southern for the Sun Belt, had 55 yards passing, 269 yards on the ground, 5 touchdowns. Justin Williams for Texas State, 11 tackles, 4 for a loss, 2 sacks, and a forced fumble and a victory over Tennessee Martin, 46-35. Texas State finishes the year 3-9. They had a rough go of it, but they are in Texas. I expect them to do well in recruiting. On to the WAC, Blake Hayden, the redshirt junior halfback out of Fresno State, 170 yards on 13 touches, 4 touchdowns in that win over San Diego. John Williams for Utah State, 9 tackles, 2 for a loss, 1 sack, and a forced fumble in their 35-28 victory over Nevada. Let's take a look at the conference standings. Owls defend Rice Stadium with a conference win over Weber State. Celebration in Houston. Let's get into it. A look at the ACC. It's going to be Bryant versus Savannah State. The Tigers clinched the Coastal with that victory over South Carolina State. William & Mary on the outside looking in. Of course, they lost to Bryant in the overtime thriller way back earlier on in the season. It was a fantastic game. And Savannah State clinches it 7-0. Almost 600 points this season. Only 203 allowed. The Big Ten, of course, has been clinched by Dayton a couple weeks ago. Montana is 2nd, and Indiana State is 3rd as we head into Week 14. The Big 12, South Dakota State, VMI, and North Dakota State, 1, 2, and 3. The Jackrabbits are going to go on and face the VMI Cadets in the Big 12 championship game. That's going to be a fun matchup. Lamar Jackson versus Cam Sanders, and I can't wait for that one. I'd like to take this time to let you guys know to join our Discord and get a little more involved. There's a lot of our players from this season in there already, and it gives you a better chance of actually getting a player for year 2. So go ahead, jump on in the Discord, click on the icon on my channel. It's in the top right on my channel art. But back into this, Big East, Princeton, Dartmouth, Harvard, and Yale, they're all tied for first place currently for the championship. So that's going to be a crazy finish for the Ivy League schools. And Dartmouth, they just beat Columbia. And Columbia is 3-7. And they just got clobbered by Cal Poly today too as well. So Columbia not having a good year. But this Big East is, other than the Pac-10, the Big East is the craziest conference in football because look at the conference records. They're just ridiculous. I think Brown might still have a chance at actually winning it. So who knows what's going to happen there. Conference USA, James Madison, they have won the East, and the West has been won by Rice. Actually, UTEP might actually have a shot at it. So that conference and that division, that'll be crazy as well. Independence, Navy, and Army, both with 8 victories on the season. Wofford, 1-10, not good. Northeastern, 2-8. So the FCS Independence not doing so hot. On the MAC, Akron and Ohio are tied for the MAC East. And it's going to be a crazy finish for that division as well. The West has already been won by Central Michigan. So it'll be Central Michigan versus Akron or Ohio for the MAC Conference Championship game. The Mountain West can be won by New Mexico or UNLV. I do believe UNLV's season is over. And it is. New Mexico's season is over as well. So New Mexico are the Mountain West Conference champions for year one. 504 points scored this year. And of course they scored almost 100 of those against Southern Utah. I'm trying really hard to forget that game, but it just keeps coming back up in my memory. The Pac-10, Cal Poly or San Diego. I do believe Cal Poly wins it even if they do lose, because they already beat San Diego this season. If I'm not mistaken, it's been so long since since all of these games have been played. But our 5 schools in the Pac-10 are the top 5 of the Pac-10, which is pretty cool, especially how Northern Colorado started the season. And Southern Utah, they've had some bad losses. UC Davis, some shocking defeats, of course, with their quarterback being suspended for several games or several halves of games. And on to the SEC East, Tennessee State won that. Jacksonville won the SEC West. Those teams will have a rematch in the SEC Championship game. Hopefully Jacksonville fares a little bit better this next go-around, because they got absolutely thumped in their first matchup with them. But the Tigers, 7-0 in conference, just rolling everybody over. The Sun Belt, FIU, 5-1. They will be facing Florida Atlantic in their final game of the season. It's weird seeing a lot of these teams have only 11 games. Georgia Southern, their final game is against Samford. FAU, Samford, and Georgia Southern all have 4 victories in conference, so I'm not really sure who's going to be able to win that. I think they all have 1 game left on the schedule, but it will most likely be FIU with the win. Fresno State, number 1 in the WAC. They could still lose that conference, I believe. 6-0. New Mexico State 6-1. Crazy things happen. Who knows? But that's it, guys. I'm not going to do predictions at the end of this video. I'm just going to go right into the videos tomorrow for Week 14. I'll see you guys then. Take it easy.